Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the Thames Valley. Patients waiting all night to be seen by a doctor as ambulances queue outside. Warnings of extreme pressure on services at the Royal Berkshire, which is the busiest it's ever been.
I've already been to West Berks Hospital and they sent me down here, and in the end that wasn't dealt with until the morning. There wasn't much I could do about it.
We're at a food bank in Basingstoke as the government announces a range of tax cuts and benefit changes. But will they be enough to ease the cost of living crisis?
Also this Wednesday, still empty and costing millions to maintain. 10 years on, what future for Reading Prison?
And we take a behind-the-scenes tour of this festive workshop where they produce some of the biggest pantomimes in the UK. And it all ends up here, on stage, for the big production.
Yay!
Good evening. The Royal Berkshire Hospital in Reading has tonight admitted its emergency department is the busiest it's ever been. Many patients are being forced to wait all night, up to 9 hours, to see a doctor.
As a result, ambulances are backed up outside with patients left inside as staff attempt to deal with around 450 patients every day. Hospital bosses are urging people to only attend in a real emergency. Here's Mike Pearce.
An emergency department at bursting point. For patients, it means longer waits than ever. Some say they've queued all night to be treated.
There's just too many people going through at a time. I mean, A&E on a Friday night, it's just hopeless. I've already been to West Berks Hospital and they sent me down here, and in the end that wasn't dealt with until the morning.
So you stayed there all night?
Oh yeah, I was put on a trolley. All night I was there, yeah.
I have friends that have got 2-year-olds and they are so worried their child is not well, and I want to be seen straight away. And the GP either won't allow or can't accommodate them.
I think 3 days ago I sent one of my auntie here, Sunday 9 o'clock. I came here Monday morning 9 o'clock. Still there's nothing happened.
Well, these are some of the 30 bays they have at the Royal Berkshire Hospital for emergencies. Now, over the last 5 years, numbers have gone up by around 100 every single day. They say they've never been so busy. Today was no different. On average, a new patient arrives every 3 minutes, every hour of the day. For less urgent cases, it can take 2 hours to be fully assessed. People are having to wait, obviously, longer than they had before. How do you cope with that?
Well, sadly, that's a reality. We don't want any patients to wait at all if we can possibly help it. But we, of course, triage the sickest. So we would encourage anybody with life-threatening emergencies to, of course, come to this department and up and down the country with their needs, and we will prioritise those patients. Sadly, that means that those with less urgent needs sadly have to wait longer.
To help, an urgent care unit has been set up in Reading Town Centre, and there's an elderly emergency department at the hospital. But today, an urgent appeal to only turn up if it's a real emergency.
If you've got a minor illness, a sore throat, something like that, do try and see your GP, do go to your local pharmacy, do look online or ring NHS 111 because they are sources of advice and they can help you as well, probably more quickly than we can.
The issue, I think, is people can't get to see their GPs because it's difficult to get through. You go to pharmacies, people are queuing around the block. You can take you 2 hours to get inside, never mind see a pharmacist. And then I think there's lack of confidence in 111. How do you deal with those issues?
I recognise all those issues and I'm conscious that everyone is under strain at the moment. We do have other options though here in Reading. We have the Urgent Care Centre that's in Broad Street Mall. They have appointment slots every single day that are not used.
What's the scenario here?
It's a challenging one. We are aware that this winter is going to be incredibly tough. We would encourage patients to seek help if they have life-threatening emergencies, but utilise all those other resources too. It's going to be a challenge.
Well, it's been another exceptionally busy day here at the Royal Berkshire Hospital. So far today, as of 4 o'clock, they'd seen in the emergency department more than 230 patients. Now, for their part, the government say they do understand the issue, they do understand the pressures that hospitals like this are facing. They say record amounts are being invested, not only in hospitals, but pharmacies and GPs as well. So they say they do hope the situation will ease. But as things stand, we're not yet get into the winter peak when even more people are expected to come to the emergency department. So the message really tonight is only come if it's a genuine emergency. And I think that is the concern, that it could actually get worse before it gets better.
Mike Pearce reporting there. In other news, Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service is being closely monitored after failing to make improvements inspectors found. This service hasn't done enough to identify those most at risk of fire or make sure teams can prioritise work according to risk. There's also concern that the service isn't capable of implementing the required improvements. The service said it's working hard to address the issues raised.
A consultation has been announced into plans to build Europe's largest solar farm in Oxford. Campaigners opposing Botley West Solar Farm say they're angry as the developers were asked to wait until after Christmas. The company behind it says it would create enough renewable energy to power 330,000 homes.
Next, today marks exactly 10 years since Reading Prison shut its gates for the last time. It was closed by the government as part of its jail modernisation programme and put up for sale back in 2019.
But as Mel Blaw reports, the site is still empty and costing millions of pounds to maintain.
A decade after the final inmates left, Reading Prison remains empty and deserted. It stood in the centre of town for almost 180 years, housing thousands of prisoners, most famously Oscar Wilde, who immortalised his imprisonment in the poem The Ballad of Reading Gaol.
In Reading Gaol by Reading Town, there is a pit of shame, and in it lies a wretched man, eaten by teeth of flame.
Since its closure, campaigners such as Toby Davies from the local Rabble Theatre Group have worked tirelessly to make sure the prison is turned into a space that benefits the local community.
Most people probably know Oscar Wilde was imprisoned in this site for being homosexual, which obviously by today's standards is very wrong. But I think there's a strong feeling that to really, I suppose for the UK government to say, OK, we kind of apologise for that. I think a lot of people feel that the best way of doing that would be to liberate this space and turn it into an arts centre, somewhere where creativity can flourish, where people can come and write and create art and put on theatre and music and all those sorts of things.
The drive to turn the prison into an arts hub has gained backing from a number of celebrities, including Reading's own Kate Winslet, and street artist Banksy has helped draw attention to the cause. The government is seeking what it calls best value for money, but there are concerns about how much the empty prison is costing to maintain after it was revealed the MOJ is still paying for electricity, gas and security at the site.
According to figures obtained, it's believed the Ministry of Justice is spending £20,000 to £25,000 a month on the prison's upkeep. Add that up over the 10 years and that's cost taxpayers £2.5 to £3 million.
Instead, that could have paid for the annual salary of either 43 full-time GPs, 90 nurses or 100 teachers. The money could also have covered the cost of more than 70,000 GP appointments or almost 11,000 ambulance call-outs.
That's a lot of money to spend maintaining a place for 10 years to what effect?
I think it's a real travesty, the amount of money and the fact it's just mothballed.
Just a waste of something that they could do, make a hotel, they could make units for homeless, anything like that, couldn't they?
My message to the government is really, I just want them to rethink their approach and work with me, with Alok Sharma, with the council, with local arts and heritage and community groups and try and make something of this amazing site. There's such an opportunity here.
Rumour has it that a sale has been agreed by the Ministry of Justice. However, in a statement released to ITV News Meridian, a prison service spokesperson said the sale of the former Reading prison is progressing and all matters relating to it are commercially sensitive and confidential. Banksy previously said converting the place that destroyed Oscar Wilde into a refuge for art feels perfect. And there are many people in Reading who agree. Mel Blore, ITV News.
Now you're watching ITV News Meridian in the Thames Valley. Still to come on tonight's programme.
Whether you like them fried, poached or scrambled, if eggs are on the menu tonight, then do stay tuned because you might not be getting exactly what you think you've paid for.
And turning fairy tales into fun, we're at the Aladdin's Cave of Panto props and costumes that supplies theatres across the south.
And for more on all of our stories, just head to itv.com/Meridian. You can call us, the number 0808 1010 095, or follow us on social media.
The Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, has cut national insurance contributions for 27 million people in the government's autumn statement. He's also announced rises in benefits, including the state pension.
Well, Kit Bradshaw is at Westminster for us tonight. Kit, what are the main announcements?
Well, it's been a cold day here at Westminster, but an opportunity perhaps for the Chancellor to try to change the political weather, because with the Conservatives trailing Labour by an average of 20 points in the opinion polls, the Tories do want to mark out clear dividing lines on the economy with measures like you say, a cut national insurance contributions paid by employees. They'll fall from 12% to 10% from January. Benefits like universal credit, they will increase from next year by 6.7%, with the state pension going up too by 8.5%. And Jeremy Hunt told the House of Commons earlier that all shows that the economy is back on track.
Conservatives cut taxes when we responsibly can. And today we do just that. We cut taxes to help bigger businesses invest. We cut taxes to help smaller businesses grow. We cut taxes for the self-employed who keep our country running. And from January, we cut taxes for 27 million working people.
We all know that working people are worse off under the Conservatives. With growth down, mortgages up, prices up, taxes up, debt up, and Mr. Speaker, their time is up.
Away from the Palace of Westminster though, what does this mean for people struggling with the cost of living? Well, Basingstoke Food Bank has seen a 30% increase in demand over the past year.
It's been very tough. I've struggled with all the bills that come in. Bills are high, especially the gas bill. I'm just finding it hard to survive.
In Basingstoke alone, we are feeding 8,000 people a year with 84 tonnes of food, so the situation needs help. To that end, the increases in universal credit and pensions will be welcome, although obviously it's not in until next April, and so people will still have a difficult winter ahead.
But do people welcome that cut in national insurance? Well, we asked some people in Ringwood.
At least it's something, so, you know, let's probably be pleased just on that.
It doesn't sound a lot, but it still helps, so that's all I would say on that.
I find it encouraging. Every little bit is encouraging.
I feel that it's a quick fix, and if you're on a low income, it may make a small difference.
For me, it mustn't make any difference because I'm a pensioner, but for anybody else that's working, I think it's brilliant.
If you're looking to buy or sell your home in the near future, though, there was no stamp duty cut today. We asked one New Forest estate agent what they made of that.
In my opinion, keeping it the way it is probably good for now. We've seen two base rates stay the same, and hopefully we can start to continue to see that and possibly them come down. We've got lenders that are looking to compete on products at the moment as well. So I think the stability is the most important thing at the moment, and hopefully that will help bring buyers and sellers into the market again.
There are 110 separate measures in today's announcement. What do our MPs make of them all?
It was a statement for everyone, which is very exciting. So not only are we, reducing national insurance by 2%, which affects 27 million working people, so every working people, and then more for self-employed people as well. But it's also good for people are low paid and the most vulnerable.
I thought it was very smug and short-term budget from a Chancellor who frankly seems like he's on another planet from the rest of us. His cheery tone, I think, was really strike a false note with so many constituents who are still struggling with the cost of living crisis, with high energy prices. We have the highest inflation in the G7.
We know that there has been a freezing of tax thresholds, which are costing an average family actually £2,000 a year in stealth taxes. What they have announced today, I'm sorry to say, they're going to dress it up, but it's not going to touch the sides for an average family. And what the Liberal Democrats would have liked to have seen instead is any fiscal headroom being ploughed into the NHS.
There from MPs in our region, and we'll all have a chance to have our say at the next general election, of course, which has to be called by January 2025 at the latest.
Lots to take in. Thanks for that roundup, Kit.
Well, there will be more on the autumn statement and reaction to it when the ITV Evening News continues at 6:30. With details about their programme, here's Mary Nightingale.
Coming up on the programme, cuts to taxes and a rise in the minimum wage. We have the latest on the Chancellor's autumn statement. Jeremy Hunt says his plan for the economy is working, but the work is not yet done, as he unveiled 110 new measures. We'll be taking your questions on what the autumn statement really means for you. Also on the programme tonight, Scotland's only oil refinery is set for closure, leaving hundreds of jobs at risk. And how having a pet benefits our mental health as we age. Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
But before all that, if you're someone who always buys free-range eggs, then this will interest you because the National Farmers Union in Salisbury says demand for eggs is outstripping supply.
Egg production has been hit in this country in part due to the bird flu outbreak, and experts fear lower welfare eggs are now flooding into our supermarkets from abroad, as Amrit Birdie explains.
At Adam's Happy Hens, chickens, goats and rheas all roam side by side out on the farm. Owner Adam insists that's why his customers love the free-range eggs he produces. But recently, he feels farmers like him are being undermined by eggs imported from abroad.
It's natural for a hen to go outside, forage, pick up grubs, pick up worms and etc. out of the ground. It's great for them. We believe that's what makes the eggs taste great. The problem is with the imported eggs is many farmers have to adhere to farm assurance, red tractor standards, and they have to comply with all these rules and regulations, these high animal welfare standards, but yet when they buy them in from abroad, they're not necessarily farm assured. The welfare standards probably aren't as good, and I think it's quite annoying for the British farmer.
According to official data from the Animal and Plant Health Agency, the number of eggs imported from Poland rose by more than 2,000% between 2021 and August 2023. And the number imported from Italy also increased by almost 300% over the last year. The drastic increase in foreign eggs has become a cause for concern for public health experts like Barrett Pancagna.
The issue with the eggs that are raised in places where you can't trace the food and the welfare of the chickens, the hens, is you may have infections within the eggs. And then when you cook those eggs, especially when you don't cook them fully, in other words, scrambled egg, raw egg, etc., that infection survives and you can get ill. So salmonella is a big problem from such eggs.
In the UK, most eggs are marked with the British Lion stamp, which reflects high standards of safety. But according to the president of the NFU here in Salisbury, recent events now mean demand is outstripping supply.
We saw a big outbreak of avian influenza last year, which had a very detrimental effect on the laying sector. We've also seen huge challenges with the war in Ukraine on cost of production. So our national laying flock is smaller than it was, which means that we are importing eggs and liquid egg product to replace what was lost previously.
The Department for Food, Environment and Rural Affairs told us around 90% of the eggs consumed in this country are home produced, and that they are also launching a review to promote fairness and transparency across the egg supply chain. But even with pressure on UK egg production increasing, for farmers like Adam, it's the happiness of his hens that remains highest in the pecking order. Amrit Birdie, ITV News.
Now let's talk about the sport. Andrew joins us in the studio. We're going to talk about Horsham. I didn't think we would be again, Andrew, but it's been a Christmas miracle.
Well, this is the magic of the Cup, isn't it? I'm telling you, Horsham were knocked out of the FA Cup by Barnsley last week, but today they've been reinstated after the Yorkshire side were kicked out of the competition. Horsham, who play in the 7th tier of English football, took Barnsley to a replay after drawing 3-3 in the initial tie. But in this replay in Sussex, Barnsley played an ineligible player. Their forward, Aidan Marsh, here, who set up the second goal, had been out on loan at the time of the first game, so wasn't registered to play against Horsham. All of which means Barnsley are out, and Horsham will now play League 2 Sutton in the next round. Only the second time Horsham have made it through to the second round of the FA Cup in their 152-year history.
I think people are just on cloud nine. Our Wednesday volunteer group today, I think they didn't have to drive home. They floated home after that. I did tease one of them and say, well, of course, if we were to draw with Sutton, we'd need to get the ground ready for a replay this side of Christmas anyway. And I think it's a great reward for our volunteers, our regular supporters, and for the whole town.
Yeah, love it. Now, tomorrow night, Southampton's women's team will play in front of their largest ever crowd. That's at Mary Stadium. 12,000 tickets have already been sold for this Continental League Cup match. The visitors, Women's Super League giants Arsenal, which makes it a very special night for one person in particular. Cheered on by a record-breaking crowd, these Saints players are plotting an upset against a star-studded Arsenal side, with an Arsenal legend in their corner. Head of women's football at Southampton, Marianne Spacey-Cale began her playing career with Fulham and then in Iceland, but she made her name during 8 trophy-laden seasons as an Arsenal striker, and while winning over 90 Lionesses caps. But she says this match is about the players.
Thursday's so far away from it being about me. It's about the squad, it's about the club. Where are we? How much progress have we made, and how much more have we got to make? So, I had a great time at Arsenal and I had fantastic memories, but this is about the squad and how we're going to compete in the game on Thursday.
We first met Southampton striker Atlanta Primus when she was a 6-year-old with her sights set on Wimbledon. The daughter of Portsmouth star Linvoy Primus, she later decided to follow in his footsteps onto the football pitch, recently starring in the World Cup with Jamaica. How far do you feel the women's game is progressing?
Yeah, it's really progressing really well. Obviously off the back of the Euros and then the World Cup as well, we're just seeing figures and attendances increase and it's great to be a part of that. I think it is very special and I feel like it's going to keep growing and keep expanding. So whatever we can do to help that is great. And then, I hope in years to come it just continues to grow and get better.
More than 10,000 fans have already bought tickets to see Saints take on the likes of England stars Alessia Russo and Beth Mead, showing how the Southampton fans are getting behind the team.
I think for us to play in front of a record crowd on Thursday, for the girls, they'll step up and they'll really enjoy it. But for the club, it just shows how important the support is. And it's an age-old saying, is it they're the lifeblood of any club, but it's special at St Mary's with a good crowd singing, the Southampton songs. We want to hear it and we want them to be proud of the performance that we'll put in on Thursday.
Currently sitting just a point off the leaders in the Championship, they're hoping the record-breaking crowd can roar them to their biggest win yet. Yeah, Horsham, Saints women, you've just got to love football.
I mean, Horsham, somebody is looking after them. That is just incredible.
And they're already looking ahead to the next round, because if they get round to the third round...
We're in Hereford territory. Let's not go there.
Anything is possible.
I know. Anyway.
Thanks, Katie. Now, talking of fairy godmothers, pantomime season is underway, so we're going behind the scenes of some of the UK's biggest productions.
Yes, by the time the curtains go up at your local Panto, almost a whole year of work's already been done. Sarah Saunders has been to meet a husband and wife team behind some of the region's biggest shows.
This warehouse is something of an Aladdin's cave. You can find everything from flying horses and ogres to gingerbread houses? Because here at Evolution Studios this year alone, they're putting on 10 pantomimes, including at Canterbury and Crawley, from script to stage. And I got to spend the day today finding out how. It's not Santa's Grotto, but it is a festive workshop. Evolution Studios is a pantomime production powerhouse. But instead of elves, it's bustling with skilled artisans, carpenters, costume designers and seamstresses.
Recently we were making clothes that when there's a puff of smoke, that the clothes completely change, so we have to magnet it all the way around, so that when you pull it apart there's something underneath, but it needs to happen like that in the same amount of time when there's a puff of smoke. So, you know, you name it, we've done it.
It's a treasure trove of weird and wonderful props, from ogres to skeletons, with acres of clothes rails and costume crates ready to be sent out. From concept to carpentry.
Well, to start off with, I'm repurposing a bed that's been used before. So I will paint out all the details that are on here, paint over the fix-ups, and then I get to make it another little, you know, a different bed.
Evolution takes Panto from script to stage, and at the theatre, dress rehearsals are in full swing.
Well, you've seen the store, all the carpenters and seamstresses, and this is what it looks like. When it all comes together, we've got the lights, we've got the actors, we've got Kevin Clifton from Strictly dancing on stage, and this is what people want to see, and that's the beauty of pantomime.
Turning fairy tales into fun. You know, it's amazing what you find lying around this place. For example, producer Emily Wood. Emily, one thing I've definitely learned today is all of this fun is actually a lot of hard work.
It is. It really is a lot of hard work. It's about 14 months getting these productions up and running. So we're already actually starting to work on next year's shows as well.
That's incredible, and it was clear today how much effort was going into behind the scenes and on the stage.
Absolutely. We've got a huge team here who are working round the clock. We've got seamstresses and carpenters.
Now, it's not all huge scale though, is it?
Some of it's tiny. Come and have a look at one of our model boxes.
Now, isn't this the stage that we were at today?
That's exactly it. Do you recognise it?
I do.
This is how we design the scenes. So they start off this small just to make sure that everything fits together and it's going to fit on the stage.
So it's a little doll's house, but actually this is crucial.
It's really crucial, and all of our construction drawings all come from this.
Amazing. Now, both of those productions at Canterbury and Crawley are going to open in the next few days, so you'll be able to find out where all this hard work ends up.
Oh, and you've been at the Panto too.
I did, yeah, I mean, that was brilliant. But yeah, yesterday I was behind the scenes at Portsmouth at the King's Theatre. That's going to go out in a couple of weeks. But yeah, it's Panto season. Christmas is coming.
Off.
It is.
Weather time now. Here's Pip.
Whatever the weather, it always feels like home. Valent Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello there. Well, it certainly has been a fairly quiet, albeit rather cloudy day out there for many of us. Little change through the next few days, but it will be turning colder, especially so as we head through the weekend. And this is why. So currently high pressure out towards the west is pulling in fairly mild air from the south and west there. But over the next couple of days, a real change in wind direction as everything shifts will drag in a north to northwesterly, and things will start to feel quite a bit colder. But not so tonight. We'll have a blanket of cloud keeping the temperatures up, so frost-free all round, and probably not falling much lower than 7 or 8 Celsius, even in rural spots. So tomorrow morning, a relatively mild start for the time of year, quite a cloudy start, but I think as the day wears on, that cloud will thin and break. We'll see more in the way of bright or sunny spells coming through, and in the best of the sunshine, out of the breeze, not feeling too bad at all. Highs tomorrow 12, perhaps locally 13 degrees Celsius. These are the times of high water for tomorrow. Then for Portland, they're just before 3 in the morning, just after 3 in the afternoon, and confirmation as we head through the weekend of that drop in temperatures, especially so overnight, with the return of some fairly sharp frosts.
Valent Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV Meridian Weather.
I don't mind it being cold, actually. It feels seasonal.
At least it's not raining. We've got to take a positive from that.
We will take it.
Cool and crispy.
Cool and crispy. That is it from us for this evening. The ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale is coming up shortly.
But from all of us here, thanks so much for your company. See you again tomorrow. Good night.
Bye-bye.